All right, so you won't be able to see me, and I even showered for the event. So today I wanted to talk about driving value on the buyer side, and I did some. I'm going to share my screen since you can't see me. I did some research, and I think these are things that perhaps for our team members and our buyers we should be doing. In Florida, going through the Florida Association of Realtors site, I found that there are some down payment assistance programs and as far as housing home buyer features, down payment closing costs. So there's definitely there's down payment assistance, which apparently is not a grant like it is in New Jersey. I guess the high tax state has its benefits at times. And Florida is a low interest rate second mortgage that goes on the property that you do have to qualify on, but I didn't see any income limits. And there may be some block grants for closing costs through the Florida program. Has anybody in Florida used any of these programs? Anybody? Negative. And then when we go to New Jersey, we have a lot more robust opportunities. We have we have the neighbor next door program, which is for teachers, law enforcement, firefighters, emergency medical technicians to live in the area that you serve. Has anybody ever done one of those? Sounds like Glenn might have.
I'm
Is that
working, I'm
In
working with police
Florida, we have the
fire.
Hometown Heroes. We've done this.
was that Scott?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you've done the Hometown Heroes in Florida,
Yep.
and where does that underwritten from?
It's actually underwritten from the state of Florida for us.
Okay, and what does the Hometown Heroes program do for Hometown Heroes in Florida?
So originally it was just for first responders, and it gave them up to $35,000 or 5% that could be utilized for down payment assistance or closing cost, either or both. And then Florida ended up opening it up to all actual first-time home buyers. So the program's still going, but it is technically out of money. And every month, the people who are refinancing or selling their homes, the money comes back in. So it's kind of like a waiting list now. But yeah,
Okay, and that's for the Heroes program, right?
yeah.
And I imagine that the grant, excuse me, the second mortgage repayable one should be available anytime to help people with the down payment.
Yeah.
Has anybody ever done that? Because that to me sounds a little bit gimmicky, but it definitely might fill a void for somebody who doesn't have the down payment funds. Um, Glenn, have you done, you unmuted yourself. Have you done some of these?
No, I usually find that the lenders have more of an ability to help them than these programs.
So your lending partners have some alternatives.
Yeah, in New Jersey also, don't forget that everyone who's not a state policeman gets a preferred rate through PIFers. So their mortgage rate right now is like a 5.41, I believe is the number.
Now is now that's police and fire, right?
Yes, not state police though.
Oh, state police are excluded?
Yeah, they're not in the pension program. You have to be in the PIFers pension program to do that.
Okay,
The state police decided they want their own pension program.
okay. So they don't get the discounted finance mortgages. Does Florida have anything similar or Virginia? Anybody have any knowledge?
Florida only has the Hometown Heroes for law enforcement to get the low rate, but it's not that good of a rate. It's just lower than the average.
Okay. And then it's going to require a little bit more legwork on my part, but apparently through HUD, if you're a hometown hero, it says that you can buy a home for half of the list price. I guess that's on foreclosed properties, which is very interesting. I've never heard of that until I did my research this morning. Anybody have any familiarity with that piece?
No, have not heard of that. Are you sure it's not half the money down?
No, it's half the list price, it said.
That doesn't make
Uh, uh,
sense.
it, shocked.
I've heard of
I
it.
guess.
I've heard of it, never saw it executed though.
Yeah, maybe these are some things that we ought to, target to do that would make some nice social splash. And
Well, we
then,
had, I actually looked this up last week because of some of the publicity I saw in Broward. On the day that I happened to look up, there were 48 foreclosed properties in all of Broward County. As one of the days last week when I looked it up. So we don't have that many. So I don't know, that's an awesome program. I like to see more about that, but we don't have very many foreclosures at all.
so I would like to, even if it's not like a commercially feasible, like it might be a royal pain in the butt and it might take a few shots to get it to work. I'd like to try to at least go through one of those and just have a case study on that. And I'll work with anybody who wants to give it a shot. Then New Jersey has a grant program if you live there for 5 years, and it does have some income limitations. In most counties, it's 160,000 for combined household income. One of the parties has to be a non-homeowner in the past 3 years to be considered a first-time home buyer. And the purchase limit is 1,100,000 in most of our areas and 1,400,000 in target areas. Now, in the target areas, you're allowed to have income of 193. I don't think you can qualify for 1,350,000 with 193 in income. Maybe it's just me, but I think maybe 4 or 5 times income would be like the max. So, but nonetheless, it's something interesting. I'm sure it probably takes a little bit longer to close as well. And there's 15,000, and then there's a supplemental $7,000 down payment grant program that's available in New Jersey for up to 22,000. So for most of our buyers, that would mean that would more than cover whatever our fee is for certain. And perhaps we can do some home buyers seminars or home buyer events to educate them on some of these things, and maybe we can disseminate it through social media completely without spending a whole lot of money. Anybody see a possibility, or anybody have an appetite to do something like that?
I mean, I've done the HMFA before.
And
It's with its own set of problems, but it closed.
was it before the pandemic or post-pandemic?
No, after, when the rate went up to 15.
I'm sorry, you said when the rate went up to what?
When the benefit went up to 15,000, I did
Okay.
one right after that.
So I think this, as inventories start to build up, might be something that's very interesting to discuss. And perhaps even with this grant, it might get somebody comfortable. Actually, you can't get away if you own a house, so it won't get us a lot of extra inventory unless they have a non-owner buyer. Scott, who else is on from Florida? I see Scott's on. Renee, you're still on?
I'm on.
Okay.
Yes, hi Rob, good morning, I'm on from Florida.
Good morning. Are you guys seeing a lot of inventory buildup?
Especially in the condo
Yes.
market. Yes,
Even single family, we're seeing a lot of it. I mean, there's currently in one area of my farm area, when there's like 4 or 5 available properties, now there's 18. So I look at the hot sheets every morning, and there's a lot of listings coming up on the market.
Now, perhaps in Florida, for all of you there, maybe we can use this as part of our listing conversation, right? Hey, we're going to promote, down payment assistance from the state, or do something on the financing side to make it more attractive and highlight that on our listing appointments. I mean, I know
Yeah,
pre-pandemic,
just need to
pre-pandemic,
find,
pre-pandemic, people were a little bit more creative, I thought, in terms of what they would do for listings and buyers before we became more commoditized in the industry. So, Renee, are you seeing it, inventory buildup in the single family prices? Single
Not
family
real,
market?
not really in my like Boca Raton city of, not really too much. Like my neighborhood has 315 homes. There's one house for sale.
And now
So-
the house that your assistant did the new construction, how much were they paying out as commission?
They're paying 3% and a $5,000 bonus.
So that tells me that they're slightly concerned, right?
I think so, yeah, and I brought another buyer there and we've been going back and forth on lots. And they're trying to work with her because she's a cash buyer. So it seems like, yeah, they're not selling them out like hotcakes, and it's in a really good location of Delray.
And is that Eric Pruitt on there? The Eric I see? If you could talk, because I think Eric, you saw some builders going up to 4%. All right, maybe he cannot talk. Does anybody want to work with like do a buyer seminar and let's try to do a digital attraction strategy?
Yeah, I want to try
That
that.
would sound good. Rob, I asked about assistance for, first-time home buyers here, and it seems unless you're in like the service, of like being a police or a teacher, I was looking into it for my son. They said because of the zip codes, there's really no help in my area. Like there's none of the neighborhoods that would be qualified.
Well, it's interesting. I've been talking with both Renee in New Jersey and Frank. And apparently a lot of the lenders are being creative with offering down payment assistance and closing cost credits. And I would imagine because they're completely getting annihilated by volume. So they're probably figuring out it's better to have some sort of a hook on your bait, bait on your hook to get some people in the door. But I know, I think Frank had closed one with $6,000 and one with $7,000 back, and one was in Coral Springs, which is not really a bad area. So that might be something that's worth looking into both in New Jersey and Florida. New Jersey, the catch might be with that $15,000 or $22,000 might be availability of funds, because New Jersey does sometimes, Glenn, have the habit of, hey, we're doing all these things, and then all of a sudden the money disappears and you have a bunch of people with their hand out. So Scott, Renee, did you say you'd be interested in doing it?
Yes.
Home buyer, anybody else in Florida? All right, and how about in New Jersey? Glenn, have you done home buyer seminars?
Yeah, we do one a month.
You already do one. And it's all organic attraction, correct? From
Correct.
social?
Well, yeah, from social.
Let's see. Who else?
how did you do it on social? Did you do it through a Zoom?
I use something called StreamYard.
And you got takers to join in?
What's that again?
And you got takers that joined in, and you got buyers that actually joined in on your seminar?
Yeah, there's more in the afterburn than the actual seminar itself. But
Yeah.
typical watch count will be somewhere in the 300 range.
We did one last year and I think 2 people joined in. But I probably didn't promote it as well as I should have, but I'm gonna try it again.
Yeah, and don't get hung up on the the people who join while you're on. It's the rewatch that matters.
And then Glenn, how do you, like, for me, that kind of breaks with traditional wisdom of, you want to be belly to belly with somebody to build that rapport. Do you have any thoughts of doing it where you attract them social and do it live and on social, or no?
I haven't, yeah, I haven't gone down that path. I'm not, we kind of do things a little differently, so, it probably doesn't fit the way that I do it, but I'm not saying it couldn't work.
And Danielle, you have a sizable team there. What's your thought on doing something like that?
Let me just unmute myself, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. I mean, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be.
Okay.
I just never done it before. So if Glenn says he's successful in it, I'm willing to try it.
And you know, I'd like to try one as use the social to attract people in person. Maybe it's just because I'm older. But I think if you get people in front of you, it has a lot more stickiness. And you can even do your buyer strategy consultation, buyer agency agreement at that time. Right? That's what I'm thinking, because you're doing 75% of the work. And then it's like, hey, if you're interested, you can come sign up with us here. You pretty much get as written, you get a 3-day out. So I don't think there's a whole lot of harm in doing it. You have buyer's remorse, no pun intended, for signing the agreement.
Yeah, and Rob, I probably wasn't clear. What we do is we have a hook, so we have something to offer them, typically 2 or 3 pieces that will help them. And then we just basically say, message us or put a comment here, and then we reach out, and then we take it to a one-on-one video buyer's consult. I don't think I've ever done a buyer's consult in person, now that you said that, but at least we do a video-based one.
Now, Glenn, do you anticipate getting buyer agency agreement signed via video introductions?
We send it over afterwards, so we explain it to them, but then we send it over afterwards. And again, you're talking to a guy that's only signed 1 manual listing agreement in his life, so I've never signed any. I get all nervous when I have to sign things in person.
Right, but the steps would be, they come to your StreamYard buyer strategy session or appointment.
Yep.
Hour and a half? How long?
No, tops 45 minutes. And then the follow-up session to that is another 45 minutes if they do it.
And is the follow-up one-on-one?
Yep.
So you have a 45-minute kind of, I'll use a group therapy, and then you have one-on-one afterwards where you go for the signature.
Correct.
And do you have multiple lenders participating? Because I know you work with several different vendors, and I know your strategy is many of them give you leads, correct?
Correct.
So if you do something like that, do you have 2 lenders participating, or is that awkward?
4.
You have 4 in the
in the mix. Yep. They all know they exist. Everybody knows that we do business with all of them, and pretty equally amongst them.
So Glenn, if I attend that meeting, right, and then I meet with, one of your team members, let's just say Steven, right? Does Steven have one lender that he would recommend? Like, how does that work? Just so
Most
that
of them
we
work
model
with
it.
2 of the 4, whoever they feel comfortable with. Most of them work with 2 of the 4.
So then they would just say, hey, I think, let me A/B this one to this first person, that one to the next one.
Yeah, we match personality types for sure. So like if they need a warm hug, they go to one. If they need speed and short and they're going to text, that's another. If they need the fatherly figure, that's another, right? If they want the guy that is, totally cool and you want to get on a surfboard with him, then it's the other, right? So we match personalities to them.
So as I'm looking on the call, I see, Nicole Barge, you have somebody new that this might be a complete home run for. Leo, you're in a building where you have probably 40% renters, Leo Arias. I don't know if you hear me or not. And Paul Texera, this is a home run for you, right? Paul, you there?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
I mean, I can see this being a masterful home run in your market. You probably even have some people that are in targeted areas where they can get larger down payments and larger, they have expanded income limitations and higher loan balances.
Yeah, especially in that market over there, yeah.
So is this something that's of high interest to you, Paul?
Yes.
All right, so we'll do something there. And Leo, people walk past your place. I don't know if you can hear me, but it's a no-brainer for you, I think. And then for next week, I want to think about, what non-traditional things can we do for our sellers in the value proposition post, NAR settlement. And I would highly recommend that everybody role play somebody saying to you this question. Hey, Renee, I heard that that 6% commissions are gone. Or hey, Paul, I heard that I don't have to pay a buyer's agent anymore. Or hey, Glenn, I heard that the realtors were sued for a lot of money. How are we going to answer that question? Because when I ask around, everybody's rather creating it as they go, for lack of a better term. And I think that should be something that comes out automatically. And I would even recommend, not saying that have you heard about the litigation, but I'd recommend saying, have you heard about some of the changes that are happening in our industry? They say yes or no, then I would say, hey, I just wanted to let you know there's some exciting changes happening that provide more transparency for both buyers and sellers. How can we help you? And I think those words, I don't think there's anything that's debatable. I think there's more transparency for both, right? And these could be exciting changes. If you're a buyer, it could be exciting changes. For us, it can be an exciting opportunity if we get ahead of it, right? But I would encourage you to ask your team members, what are they saying when they call people? And how are they answering that question when it's asked of them? I don't know. I'm going to pick on Paul Texera. Paul, what would you say if somebody said to you, hey, Paul, I heard that, the realtors got hit up for a lot of money. What the heck happened? You're on mute, Paul.
I depending on the person, I have different conversations. Sometimes my conversation can be derived based on the current administration. I have people that I talk to like that. I have people that most of my people don't even know about it, to tell you the truth. But and the people that I have spoken to that are sellers, the conversation that we've had along the lines is that nothing's really changed. The buyer, the buyers are paying their buyer's
Paul,
agents.
So Paul, and this is all coming from the contribution, and I'm saying that I think we should have a standard response to that, and it shouldn't be, person oriented or even administration related, because that's, cutting off half the business, right? I do agree with you. Most people aren't very aware of it, but when I was door knocking this weekend, we had 3 people ask about it. And, the response that I had seemed to excite people. If I'm explaining away, I don't think I'm doing justice to our business or industry. But if I just said something like, and I'm open to suggestions, but if I say, hey, Paul, I'm glad you asked that question, or Paul, have you heard about it? Well, there's some exciting new changes happening in our industry that are providing more transparency and options to both buyers and sellers. When would you like to get together? And if it doesn't go on autopilot from us, I think our team members are not going to put it on autopilot. And I'm open for critique. That's how I get better. Anybody, have any suggestions? Charles, you have anything that, you would add to that? Are you somewhere you can talk, Charlie? Nicole? Anybody?
I'll chime in. I don't really know. I just hopped on, so I don't really know how far into some of these discussions and details you got. But I would just say that in terms of all this buyer agency stuff, it's really like things are an issue if and when you make them an issue. But if you approach a problem with confidence and solutions and know what you're doing, it's really not that complicated. And I say that, you know, from our experience, we're a unique team in the sense that we operate a lot in the off-market space and do some wholesaling. And 8 out of 10 times there are agents involved in our deals on the back end when they bring us a buyer. And 8 out of 10 times their buyers are paying their commissions. So for us, it's like business as usual. Nothing's changed. It really boils down to whether or not that buyer's agent has the capability and confidence to talk to their clients and educate them and, you know, make them knowledgeable about the situation. And if they're not, you know, and we can sense that they're a little bit newer and they're a little bit green, we coach them through those conversations, and 8 out of 10 times everything goes smoothly. So I don't really think it changes too much, and I don't think anybody should put too much emphasis on it or be fearful about it. It's already happening. It's just about your.
So Niren, you're in the elevator and you have 30 seconds to pitch it. Hey Niren, I heard that that realtors aren't charging 6% anymore, and there's like some big lawsuit. Is that true? Niren, you still there?
Well, did I tap out?
Yeah, for a second.
Okay. And you're talking about on our wholesale deals or like the
No,
retail space?
Just say on a retail. Let's say you're at a cocktail party and you're going down the elevator, and you have 30 seconds. Somebody asks you that question.
Okay, repeat the question.
Yeah, hey, Niren, I heard that 6% is gone in the business. That must really be rough for you, and that the realtors got a big judgment. Wow, that sounds horrible.
Well, you know, there have been certain changes to the industry, and what that really boils down to is just a little bit more protection for yourself and for buyers, and a little bit more room for negotiation. You know, now buyers can cover their own agents' commissions. However, everything is and always has been negotiable, and based on, you know, people's offers and what you're willing to entertain as a seller, the situation is just that much more negotiable and customizable.
So I put you on the spot there, Niren. Thank you.
Rob, you know, I had this happen over the weekend, and not in an elevator.
Okay.
But I said to them, I said, you know, I'm so glad you asked. And I said, let me first say, I've never seen a 6% commission. But second, you know, transparency about who is paying what has always been a tenet of our no surprises ever. And if you're more interested to find out how commissions are split and how the process works, I'm happy to sit down with you and walk through that. It's easier if you see it in the numbers on paper.
That's great. And Glenn, maybe if you could even add like how this change benefits them because of your transparency, right? Because now a lousy agent's not going to get paid a full commission theoretically, right?
Yeah, and you know, the one thing that when I walked out of that meeting, I realized something that was an aha moment for me. We are so focused on the commission piece that absolutely no one is focusing on the fact that a buyer's agent now is looking to eat every other buyer's agent's lunch, right? We have not had to justify our means on the buyer side more than ever than now. So how you differentiate yourself in that moment locks people in, right? And we're so focused on the conversation about the commission rather than saying, hold on, just like a listing appointment, I have a totally different playing field because there's going to be a bunch of people like me that are looking, and I'm showing a dashboard to a client, which I know nobody has, right? And I'm going, here's the value I provide. Here's all the steps that I do. And you get to view this in a dashboard. I'm thinking about how do I get that buyer? That's the commission piece is a piece of cake. I think it's more so, how do I prevent them from grabbing the joker on the other side that's not going to have all the things that I have that's going to benefit them, right?
I I agree that this is an opportunity, Glenn, for us to, put some distance between us and the uninvested, unskilled competition, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's gonna make it easier to differentiate ourselves from, cousin Sally and Uncle Sam, who just got their license.
Yeah, but I actually think it's harder, right? Like, just like a listing appointment, I tend to over prepare. You need to, we threw out everything we did buyer wise and rewrote the script as to how do you demonstrate the value, because I see it like, you'll have buyers that are gonna do casual, I met someone and I'm gonna stick with them type thing. But once they really start seeing this money's out of my pocket, the next question is, what are you providing me? Like, and I think that's the piece that this whole, we should all be looking at it going, how do I demonstrate the value in such an overwhelming way that nobody can compete? And then your commission is, once again, just like the listing side, I put the numbers on paper, but I never talk about it because the value is so great that they don't ask. A reverse listing appointment, right? That's really what this is now.
I agree. So, but us as team leaders, I think we have a obligation to listen to how our team members are answering that question. And for goodness sakes, make sure politics and administrations don't come out of your mouth. Paul, I love you, but that's gonna cut half the people out, right? And whatever our feelings are about, who's behind it and what's responsible, it doesn't serve us and it doesn't serve our clients. So, find a positive spin, find a way to put some distance between us and the competition, and make sure that it's part of the role playing that we do. And it's an excellent opportunity for us to reach out to some of these colder leads that we've spoken to in the past. And, Glenn, sometimes you're calling old Zillow leads from your lenders, right?
Yeah,
It's a great
absolutely.
way. It's a great way for you to re-engage them, right?
Heck yeah, and the money's there, right? To me, it's a warm call. Nobody likes cold calls, right? But if they already put in their information, it's a warm call.
Right, and if we're excited to talk about it, then it's gonna show through. If we're, defensive about it, we can have all the facts, but if we're defensive, it's not gonna come across well. If we're confident and we focus on the positive, I think it's gonna both help us, help the buyers, and all of our team members to move forward and kind of unfreeze this market. I mean, I was just looking at the stats nationally. I think, sales were down between 10 and 17% in March from the prior March. So, clearly the market is not bailing us out anytime soon. Interest rates seem to be going in the wrong direction. They seem to be going higher. I even heard Jamie Dimon talk about, an equal likelihood of a rate increase as a rate cut. Credit card debt is through the roof. Mortgage delinquencies are at a 10-year high. Auto loan defaults are at all-time high. So, things are changing. Some people are struggling. Some of those people are struggling, probably going to need to sell their house despite their low interest rate, get bailed out. And whatever we can do to separate ourselves, I think will help us and our team members. So next week, unless anybody wants to message me with something different, I'm going to try to take the same perspective from a listing appointment and figure out how can we use the settlement to put some distance between ourselves. And is there anyone that's looking to have serious conversations and encourage zero compensation out? Anyone in that?
Missed that,
in that
Rob. What were you
boat?
saying?
What's that?
I missed that. What were you saying?
Is anyone in the boat of, hey, you know what, I'm going to give it a real possibility of, hey, Glenn, my fee for listing the house is 2.5% or 3%. You don't have to pay the buyer's agent. We could offer zero out and give them that as a bona fide opportunity. Or are you saying, hey, if we don't put any compensation out, we're gonna limit the audience, we're gonna limit the showings to qualified buyers. Like, is there anyone taking the first approach where you're saying to the seller, hey, I'll do your listing for 2.5%, 3%, and we don't need to let the buyer pay themselves? Anyone in that camp? I don't think I'm not there yet, and I don't know I'll be there. So we got nobody's there. I think that kind of makes sense. And we're not seeing that many of them either, at least in my markets I looked at. Anybody seeing more than 1 out of 20 going with no comp?
No.
No.
All right, well, the same conversation for sellers next week, and if you have any answers to the hey, I heard there's changes, I'd love to hear yours either privately or in the group, see if we can just all better ourselves and set ourselves apart. Have a fantastic week, everybody.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rob, you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.